The Master Phil in Your Corner podcast is brought to you by philross.com. Books, videos, Master Phil's survival strong living supplements, as well as self-reliance and performance enhancement presentations. It is also brought to you by the Bodybell Method, workshops and certifications, the world's only kettlebell, bodyweight, and dynamic tension system that carries continuing education credits for trainers, instructors, coaches, doctors of physical therapy, and chiropractors. In-person and virtual options are available. Please visit bodybellmethod.com. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Master Phil in Your Corner. This is episode number 131, and we'll be delving into the subject of cell phones, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, social media, our youth, and for adults as well. And we have a very special guest today. We have Lori Ann Roland, who is a licensed therapist, and she's got a couple other things going on there. So we'll have Lori just take it away. Tell us what you do and your position and how you can help us with these dilemmas that we face every day.
Hi, Phil. Thank you for that intro. And I want to say hello to all of your listeners and thank you for this space and for having me here. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor. And I've been working in the field for about 28 years in a high school setting and also in the private practice setting. I maintain my own practice as well.
Wow, that's you're pretty busy. In addition to that, we actually met through a fitness expo, so
Yes.
you're also involved in that realm as well.
Yeah, I love the world of fitness. I believe in that mind, body, soul integration. I don't believe that you can have a healthy body but not a healthy mind. Conversely, a healthy mind without a healthy body, it just doesn't work. So we met at AAAI ISMA and kind of hit it off there. And I am a fitness professional as well.
Well, mens sano incorpore sano, right?
Yeah.
And a sound mind, a sound body, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of truth to that. In addition to that, the latest data shows that exercise and proper nutrition are up to 1.5 times more effective than therapy and drugs combined in the treating of depression, anxiety, and other mental illnesses. What are you finding in your practice? Since you've done something very cool and blended the two, the cognitive aspects of therapy and whatever, and the fitness aspects.
Yeah, so I believe that also that the role of nutrition and movement is grossly underplayed in mental health. And that's something that I find myself saying to a lot of my clients, whether they're the students or the adults in my practice. And what oftentimes presents as a mental health issue is really a biological issue. So getting that report from that client, that self-report on what they're eating, what their habits are, what they're consuming, whether it's caffeine, nicotine, marijuana, all of those things matter. What kind of fats, what is the diet looking like? How much sleep are we getting? How many hours are we spending playing video games? All of these things come into play because I cannot deal as a therapist with the root of the matter, the heart issue, if the biology is a disaster. So that's really one of the first things I like to square with my clients, what that looks like.
Yeah, that's so important. And, it's something we run into constantly. I don't even know how many people are aware that 90% of how your serotonin is made occurs in your gut. So if your gut is off balance, how is your brain going to be balanced? I mean, the importance of probiotics and eating things that are good for you nutritionally is, it cannot be downplayed. It can't be upplayed enough in my mind.
It can't, and you're exactly right. And also, when I work with adolescents, I take an inventory of the many ways, the various ways that they are taking an artificial dopamine all of the time, and what that is having on the effect it's having on their mental health because they're getting all these hits of dopamine from social media. Everything is at your fingertips. Everything is like that, and what that does in an adolescent's world, it kind of creates this unenthused, affect, because if the dopamine level is not kept at this level and high all the time, it kind of wanes for them, and that's not sustainable, and that is not normal, and that is what it lends itself to depression and anxiety and other mental health contraindications.
Wow. I mean, it seems like a spiraling downward process, and the fact that I noticed it particularly was apparent uh, during and after COVID, when the kids were locked down on their screens, and that's the only thing that they were looking at. And now they seem to be attached by umbilical cords to these devices.
They are. And I like to talk about, if your listeners are not familiar with this incredible book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, Haidt. I don't understand how any parent of a teen could not be in possession of that book. The data and research in that book, a lot of it was compiled by Dr. Jean Twenge. I had the benefit of attending her workshop in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
at a psychotherapy symposium in March. And she will be coming out with another book in September called The 10 Rules, and that is geared toward parenting adolescents in the I generation and what parents can do to help kind of put the genie back in the bottle. Because iPhones came out in '07. By 2012, everybody had one. And clinicians like me were seeing market declines in mental health, well-being, high increase in teen suicide rates. So in looking at all of that, what's causing that? And a lot of that has to do with the phone. it's
Wow.
become it's become a real catalyst for depression. And when you get kids out of that
Yeah.
and you get them to go touch grass, good things happen.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that people don't realize that fractals are so important to us. Getting out in nature, seeing those patterns, they're very pleasing to the mind and obviously the soul as well. The thing is that we know how to prevent this or at least curtail it somewhat with the younger kids, but these kids, we have a group of teenagers right now and young adults who they need a lot of work. I mean, look, as a college professor, I have seen the decline in the quality of the students and the quality of the work. I mean, these kids are not getting smarter. We're producing less intelligent humans.
We are. And when you lower the bar to meet their need, you're in essence killing striving for excellence.
Yep.
And nobody benefits from that. Nobody benefits from that. I find that most people, not all, most adolescents, if you cut them a break, very few will honor that break and then change the behavior. They will engage in the same behavior again. In order to change behavior for the positive, you have to make someone's life uncomfortable. And a lot of adults today, and the book Anxious Generation discusses that,
Mhm.
adults today are they have a hard time with their children being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And my whole career is predicated on talking about the elephant in the room, whatever that is, and
Mhm.
introducing it so we can get to the root issue. Sometimes that makes me unpopular, but it makes me effective.
Hey, you know what? You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And we're not doing our kids a favor. Iron sharpens iron. They have to feel the pressure in order to do it. That's I mean, look, that's a theory that I have because I've worked with thousands and thousands of teenagers and young adults, and I've seen them where they have not experienced failure before, and the first time it happens, it's like their world fell out from underneath them. I mean, heck, I was always having failure when I was in my house as a kid. My dad and mom, let me know it.
All the time, all the
Yep.
time. Right. I hear that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's so good either, but at least makes us resilient, and it's like whatever.
It makes for good stories too.
Yes. Oh gosh. Yeah. Between straps and wooden spoons
Oh,
broken
belts.
open. Oh yeah. Oh.
Absolutely. All of it.
Yep. Yep. And these kids, gosh, you look at them sideways, they cry.
That is true. There's a level of uncomfortability with that, and there's a lack of resiliency. So teaching those skills is really critical.
Yeah. The things that when we put people into like special forces, we put them through ordeals. We put them through ordeals to give them the confidence to handle things when they come up. This is how you make people who can be accomplished and can prosper. we're not equipping our children with those. We are snow plowing the way for them. They do not fall. They do not waver. We pick them up. We guide them. We corral them. We are creating sheep.
I saw this great it was an advertisement the other day, and I want to talk about it so your listeners can hear it. And open the screen. It's a scene of a mother doing something at the sink dishes, and her little boy was playing in the other room, visible to her. And he was about 2 or 3, and he fell down and he screamed for her. And at first she jumped and she went to go rescue him. And you can see that she stopped short and she's watching him struggle to get up. And you wonder at first, as the viewer, why is that mother not helping her son? He's clearly struggling and crying out for her. Then you realize, as the viewer, that the little boy is blind. And she watches him struggle and get himself up. And in that moment, it was clear that as a mother, her instinct was to protect him, rescue him, save him. But she knew that that's not how he would grow. The growth comes from the struggle.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
look, as a parent myself, you don't want to see your kid in pain or struggle or have hard times. You want it to be easier on them, but you know what though? You're not doing them any favors.
No.
That's why it's so important to be involved in challenging activities and again, be comfortable being uncomfortable. You know.
Exactly, and limiting screen time. There's get your middle schoolers a flip phone. In that book, it's discussed that one of the 10 rules would be syncing the access of a iPhone with the driver's license. And I know, and this is a real problem, we are giving young people phones, computers before they have this prefrontal cortex developed, right? That part of the brain is responsible for reasoning, judgment, impulse, all of those things. And in today's world, and I recently did a workshop for the county health department that I work in called At Your Fingertips.
Mhm.
And the whole premise of it was that anything we want, we can get at our fingertips, whether that's drugs, whether that's porn, whether that's unhealthy foods, it's all right there for you. And that is what I spoke about, how that is impacting young people and what can we do about it?
Yeah, you bring up a hugely important point because what most people don't realize is that, children, teenagers, and even young adults, most of their thought predominantly resides in the amygdala, which is based on emotion, as opposed to the
That's all your feelings. All the feelings are right there in
right?
that amygdala. Yes.
Yep, yeah. And like people have to understand that a child is very malleable and they are subject to impulse. So, how do we circumvent that? I mean, it's not easy. My daughter has to turn her phone in every day at 9:30 p.m.
Good job.
Believe me, it's never done voluntarily. I always have
No.
to collect it. You know, is it a hassle? Yes. Do I do it? Yes, every day. And I honestly, I am met with resistance more times than not, but I still do it. Then I go, give me the phone. Yeah.
You take that phone. Exactly. Follow
Yeah.
through.
Yeah. So, it's not always easy. What are some of the tips that we can get? Let's say okay, it's easier to start people off, and hey, here you have your phone. You can have it for X amount of time a day, but the schools don't help because they make every app is on that phone. Everything for the kids to communicate is on that phone.
the
There,
the book talks about bell to bell policy, and schools um contend with things like parents and uniformity. If it were up to me, and it's not, I wouldn't allow any cell phones in school. And here's the arguments that you get, well, what if there was an emergency? Well, actually,
oh,
if you think about that, if there was an emergency, and everybody's calling, that's going to block and limit emergency vehicles from getting in, create chaos, misinformation, right? So
mhm.
there's a lot of reasons when people say that to me. Well, what about an emergency, right? Those type of things. It creates hysteria. But again, emergency vehicles need to get through, and if everybody's
Yes,
calling and driving, it creates
right.
another
Well,
issue.
let's when people ask me a question like that, I say, okay, let's get specific. Give me an instance, and you gave one. What is the emergency now? Where emergency vehicles have to show up.
Right.
So if emergency vehicles have to get through to do their job to save your kids and whatever else, and it's flooded, they can't get through.
Right.
Who are you helping?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. There's a delay. So
Yeah.
that's the example that I give. And I always tell kids and parents that the antidote for depression and anxiety is experience. And that's when I say, go touch grass, experience something. Uh, Looking at sleep hygiene, right? What the sleep quality is like. Is the phone near the bed? Is the phone under the pillow? Because that's disastrous as well. Are we putting it on a do not disturb? Are we putting it across the room so we don't hit and have 17 alarms going off in the morning, making us late? Because we're given a certain amount of dopamine for the day, right? And if we start our day on that phone, what does that do to set the tone for the rest of the day? You're not setting yourself up for success.
Yep. Yep. I mean, that's why I tell people first thing you should do is do a stretch in the morning, do something physical, kick that system going, get it going. If you look at a dog or a cat, what's the first thing they do when they get up?
They stretch,
There you go.
they
There you
stretch.
go. So,
They,
so listen. So I'm not going to let my animal. I'm not going to let my animal be smarter than I am,
no.
right? So we can't allow that. So what we have to do is at least learn from them.
There's I never before, and I've been in schools, as I said, for 20, I'll be starting my 29th year in schools. So I've had a lot of experience, right? My first year on the job, 20 years ago, I had 2 homicides. That was first year, job number one, right? From a career, I worked on Wall Street right out of
Yeah,
college,
yeah,
and then got the master's and said to myself, what career did I get into? 2 homicides, right? But 20, almost 29 years later, and here I am, and I've seen a marked shift in the ability of young people to be self-reliant. Let me repeat that. I've seen a market shift and a decline in the ability for young people to be self-reliant, even from the way they come to school. When you come to school, be prepared to be a student. And I see kids wearing pajamas, slippers, blankets, I remember kids, and not just when I was in high school, after when I was working professionally, it was about outfits and what you wore, and there was a pride, and everybody was kind of ready and prepared to come to school, to take notes, to learn. And now with phones, there's other things taking precedence over what should be the priority. There's, did my boyfriend or girlfriend go to that party and hang out with that person? I'm checking that Snapchat, I'm going on that story. And if that's how I'm starting my day, worrying about that, what's that going to do to my anxiety level? And what's that going to do to my history paper that's due?
right, right. But the thing is, they put unimportant things first. I mean, this. If you look at something, okay, if you're on social media, let's say 3 hours a day. I know that's probably a little bit.
Very low. I think the average age and
That's
the research for a 10th grade girl was about between 8 and 10 hours a day, Phil.
So let's say 8 hours a day. You're on the 8 hours a day. Let's just say 5 days a week. I know weekends probably worse. So that's 40 hours a week. That's a full work week.
Right.
Now, if you were studying then, working out, practicing music, practicing karate, doing something in 10 years, wow, you'll be extremely accomplished. In 10 years of being on social media 8 hours a day, you know what you're gonna be? You'll be a basket case. And you'll be tethered to that thing and you will have accomplished nothing except made yourself anxious.
Well, okay, so we talked about before, I'm an addictions counselor, right? So there's a lot more to be addicted to than just drugs or alcohol. And addiction could be a whole subtopic, right? But one of the things that an addiction is punctuated by is when it's beginning to interfere with your ability to function in life.
Yeah.
So if negative things are happening as a result of whatever it is you're doing, drug, alcohol, social media, pornography, whatever it is, if it's interfering with your ability to function in your life and you are not meeting and exceeding expected life roles at that time, it's time to look at that. And that's what I see the phone doing. So I treat it like it's any other drug, alcohol, or something like that. Let's look at the role this device is playing in your life. And is it giving back? Because when you talk to an addict in recovery, and
Mhm.
I do all the time, they're going to say that that drug was my best friend. I got nothing back from it. It just took from me.
Yeah.
And when you get people to look at the phone differently. You know who I really like on YouTube for your listeners too? Dr. K, Dr. Alec Kenosha, the healthy
Yeah.
gamer.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's great. He's great. And he's got some really
Very.
good points. And I get kids to look at that. So they're not hearing it from somebody other than me, another counselor,
Mhm.
but they can kind of do the research for themselves and see a little bit there as well.
Dr. K.
Dr. K, Alec Kenosha.
Cool. Good.
Harvard educated psychiatrist, healthy gamer on YouTube, the healthy gamer.
I won't hold the Harvard thing against him. Sorry.
Right. Can't be a 10 all the time.
Exactly. So, and
Right.
it's Dr. K or Kaye?
Dr. K, just the letter K because the last name Kanoja, I believe it's
Okay.
Kanojia.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I understand the K.
Yes.
Yeah, you're bringing up some interesting points in regard to making these patterns. We have to get these habits. How do we establish these good habits? How do we break these bad habits? I have a thing I call it the 90 days of suck. That means when you when you want to create or change a habit, it takes 90 days and it's going to suck for 90 days.
Yes, it will.
But how do you know, get people to realize, especially these teenagers? Look, adults are a little more adept at this because we have a developed prefrontal cortex, or at least most of us do. So, how do you get these children who are thinking, whose thought is predominated in the amygdala, emotionally driven, dopamine fiends? How do we get them to realize this and take action that's going to help?
Number one, by modeling the behavior. And oftentimes in their own worlds, adults aren't doing that. So walking the walk, right? So that's where my fitness role comes into play. I walk the walk, right? I'm not getting home from work and on the couch and watching hours and hours of screen time, right? You're doing yoga. So getting young people to realize healthy habits,
Mm-hmm.
what they look like, and teaching them for themselves so they learn. Every household is different. Every household is different. So, really understanding what a child's home life is like, what their background is like, what's being modeled in the home, and teaching them for themselves. Because you're right, they have that amygdala. They have every decision they make is based off of emotion. Whereas adults, we can base it off of logic because we have that prefrontal. So, I would say by modeling the behavior. And if you look at who young people gravitate toward,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you look at that societally, they tend to go for people and admire people who do embody that and model good habits, good behaviors, adults that are safe, actionable adults.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like everybody loves the teacher who doesn't care if you come to school late. Everybody does, loves that teacher that doesn't care what you do in class. But in a crisis, is that the teacher they're going to? No.
Nope.
They're going to an actionable one that is going to be effective, right? And that's who they kind of know how to model after. So they are watching, they are paying attention, they are a demographic. And I believe a lot of adults, and I see this, adults don't know that kids pick up on things, but they do, especially adolescents. That is most likely, I feel, the demographic that picks up the most on every nuance, every inflection of tone of voice. They see it all and they're watching. So, modeling that behavior for them, teaching them good habits is critical in developing skills so they can get outside and have experiences and not be linked and chained to that phone.
Yeah, that's classic modeling. I mean, that's like a duck models, a duckling models the mother and daddy duck. you know,
Right,
it's going to
right,
do the same thing. Yeah, it's so important to not be that person's like, oh, do as I say, not as I do. You know,
right,
you have to walk the talk. You have to lead from the front. You can't sit there and say, oh, don't drink as you guzzle alcohol every night. You know,
right. Or marijuana. That's
marijuana.
really that's a whole other. I could do 10 podcasts in a row and not stop talking about that,
Yeah.
and how that's impacted young people because, and that's another rabbit hole. We can do another podcast on that.
I
But
was
the
gonna
high,
say, yeah, I'm already thinking about like five or six that we can do right now.
yeah, offshoots,
Yeah,
right?
offshoots, because the stuff that we're bringing up
Yeah,
is really pertinent. And as far as like leaders of young people and leaders of our communities, we have an obligation to do that.
we
We have an
do.
obligation to do things the right way. We have an
Yeah,
obligation to show the correct path here, and to walk the talk. Uh,
right.
and that's something that cannot be underestimated. And the things what I did notice that you did say that, and I know the same thing too, that these kids, they look up to the accomplished people.
They do.
But the thing is, I think that most of them fail to see all the work it took that person to become accomplished. They just didn't wake up one day and they were, six pack abs and could,
No,
was a doctor or was, a famous, very successful business person or something. That didn't happen overnight. They fell down a million times.
they
They,
did. They don't see that. They don't see the work. They don't see the grit. They don't see the perseverance. What they do see is what I call the DoorDash culture. The now. I want food. I'm hungry now. Boom, get it. I don't have to work for it. I want this now. I want to get it. I don't have to work for it. I mean, even joking around, like, come on. I know who we all had an uncle that had dirty magazines somewhere, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and you say you had to work to go find it if you wanted
yeah.
it. Now, the average age of a young boy to get on Pornhub is, you know what it is? Take a guess.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid. Just go because I'm afraid.
9.
Nine, nine,
9.
nine. You know how hard it was for me to look at it as a teenager.
Yeah, you had to work. Yeah, effort, right?
Had to find my buddy's older brother's mattress, go under it, and like I was
Yeah.
crazy. And this is ridiculous. That's why it's
It's
so
it's
rampant,
too
and
easy.
yeah, and it's consuming. And the thing is that what's next then? That's the thing because it creates a skewed idea of reality, a concept of reality.
It does. And they're also seeing influencers. And hey, listen, influencers, they figured it out. Good for them. They figured a way how to go online, become popular on it, and monetize it. Good for them. That's a skill set I don't really have. It's a proud Gen Xer here, and not really something I have. But they figured it out. But here's the thing: that's the minority. Not everyone does.
Right.
So if your goal is to be an influencer, you better be the best on your block, or you better have a backup plan. And that's where I see adolescents, they don't want to put that work in because we live in the now culture. We want it, we want a body out of a pill, right? We want at our fingertips, as I said before. We don't want to have to work for it. And all these conveniences of technology have also had a counter effect. And that's that young people don't have that drive to work for something, and teaching them how to do that, whether it's to save for a car, to have goals, right? That helps.
Yeah, the funny thing is, how do we do that collectively as a society, or do we have to say, "Hey, parents, you know what? You got to buckle down. Everybody's got to get together, and you got to start. You got to start doing this." But how do we get everyone to do it? Because a lot of parents are like, whatever, kid's fine. The things that my youngest one, I have a 31-year-old, a 29-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And actually, I'm not a Gen X. I'm still a baby boomer. Yeah, definitely just age myself, huh? So, um, but the thing is that I noticed the difference between those those my own children and the way that they view things. You know,
Do you look at your older ones as completely different specimens than your 15-year-old, like
100%,
light years? Okay, that's what
100%.
that's interesting. I would think so, yes.
Yeah, yeah, they're totally different. Like my other kids they listened a lot better. they, they had a lot better discipline. And look, we always had, there were always issues with kids, but the fact that it was workable. This one is almost unworkable in certain
What blows your mind about it the most? Like, what's the thing that you see marked differences between your 15-year-old and the older ones?
lack of respect and complete insolence.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm not my younger one is just like just especially with my wife gets very disrespectful.
Yeah.
She's got some measure of fear of me, but not
A
much.
nice, healthy fear element, right?
Yeah, yeah, but not much, not much. My other two kids were like there was like no question. I mean, it just was. But this is like it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
It is challenging, and especially today when there's blended families, and over 50% of marriages ending in divorce, and then you have the split households, and there's one set of rules at this household and another set of rules at this household. One of the things I do in my practice is if I do get a phone call for an adolescent, I'm very judicious if I take that adolescent, because I need to know that I have to parents who are willing to successfully co-parent, because you're not going to drop off your adolescent in my practice and I wave my wand, tap them on the head, and you're not part of the process and they're better, because a lot of times the issues that they're presenting with are symptomatic of the homes and the parents' inability to successfully co-parent. So I need to get on track with that too. And if you're allowed to have a phone in your bedroom or have a boy in your room at this house, but not in the other one, that's going to create a lot of confusion. And parents sometimes take the attitude of, well, my kids are with me. I don't want to fight with them. I just want peace at any price. But in doing that, sometimes you're allowing them, you're creating a little monster.
Look, and this is also, if you look at it, think about it on a world stage. If you just want peace, you capitulate. That never works. It
No,
never
no,
works.
no.
Okay. The hard look, there's a reason that's a hard road because people don't want to take it. And sometimes you have to go on that hard road. You have to say no. You have to, you have to lay down the law and you got to stick to it. And you have to have two people willing to do that because if you don't, they're always going to take the path of least resistance.
If you make an idle threat and you don't follow through, you've lost control. They need to see that you're going to stand on business.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just think like, and the other thing is that people threaten sometimes too much. You can't threaten. You just got to
No.
do it. You just do it. Like, oh, you did that? Okay, well, you're not doing that. Fine.
Right. The expectations need to be laid out clearly for them so they know what the expectations are.
Yeah, yeah. And it takes a measure of discipline. And as adults, a lot of adults, I don't see them doing that.
No, they don't. I have adults in my practice. They thank me for the things I share with them. Whereas in a school system, they'd be, telling on me, calling, trying to get me in trouble. As I said, that's what I mean when I say that I talk about hard things. I talk about things that are really difficult. I always do that in a way where I preserve the dignity of the family. I'm not here to judge, but I am here to move them forward. And I equate it to this, right? And this is a lot of times what happens. I am going after our podcast today. I'm going to take my car to get brakes. She needs front brakes, right? So let's just say I'm sitting there, and the mechanic comes out
Mhm.
and says something's wrong with my car and says to me, "This is how we're going to fix it." And I say, not being a mechanic at all or having any training, no, I don't think so. I don't think no. And I get really angry and upset with them,
Yeah.
start yelling at them, tell them they don't know anything, get really loud and angry.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, they've been a mechanic for as long as I've been a therapist, right? 29 years. But I'm going to go into their place of business and tell them no, that's not it, that's not how it is. So conversely, when you have someone with 28, 29 years of experience giving you counsel, sage counsel, guidance on how to move an individual's young person's behavior, move that needle, and they're saying no, what do you know, in resistance, I'm not going to deal with that, not in my practice.
Yeah.
I'm not here for that. I'm
Yeah.
not here for that, and I'm not the therapist. I'm not the one. Does that mean I'm not empathetic? Absolutely not. Do all kinds of bereavement therapy and things of that nature. But I would never tell another professional when I've not trained one day in their subspecialty and just tell them, no, that's not it,
Right. Right.
without any basis for doing so.
Yeah. I mean, you have to have some knowledge pool in order to form a proper opinion on that. Uh,
Right.
and just your experience with, yeah, I've run into that too. You have this is, I'm working with this guy. I'm filming. I'm not going to say the company, but
Okay.
so I was popping some handstands, and the guy filming says, "Oh gosh, hey, yeah, I've been working on my handstands too," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you getting them?" He's like, "Well, no, still not," and I'm like, "Well, here's how I do it," and I was showing him how I was taught because I was able to do it. I still do it. Um, and he goes, "Well, no, that's not how I do it."
Right.
I'm like, "Well, how's that working for you?"
Exactly. How is that working for you? And I think you're right. To your point that people, just by virtue of being a parent, maybe they feel that they know best, right? And I will never take it away from parents. Oftentimes they are the best witness to their child, right? They know
Sure.
that. But being receptive to those who have training in this field, to those who work in it and who see, not bucking the system. When parents and, staff unite, the only thing that could happen is gains for the youth at hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's also, yeah, having that united front there. And the thing is, that, kids, I feel, and some. some do this, some don't, but a lot of time, I think more often than not, when they apply a certain filter to their parents. So you and I could say the same thing to my child. Coming from me, it'll be like the teacher in Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. And
Right.
coming from you, it's like, oh wow, she's smart.
Right, it takes a
That's it.
village. And you know what? Like I love it when sometimes parents, and I love this, will say to me, you told my daughter the same thing I said, but she took it from you. And if I have a parent who's threatened by that because their ego, they want to be top center in their child's life, that's a parent who's threatened by that. I need a parent that's going to understand that I'm not here to become number one in your child's life. I'm here to kind of move that individual, as I said, move the needle to a better place, right? To be the best version of themselves. And what's the difference if they believe the sky is blue from me or from you? As long as they're finally getting it that the sky is in fact blue, who cares?
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody wins.
yeah, absolutely. The funny thing is, when I had my martial arts studio for over 30 years, parents would come in and say, "Can you tell so and so to do this?" They won't listen to me, but they'll listen to you.
Right.
You know? So yeah, use me, use you, right? That's being smart with it. And the thing, like you said, again, it takes a village,
It
and
really does.
yeah, and that filter that these kids apply to their parents and sometimes others, but they need to hear that other voice coming in, and
Agreed.
actually a voice that has a lot of experience. Because look, even if they have 10 kids, look, you see thousands,
Yeah.
right? Not only did you study it, and you studied from people who had thousands, but you've experienced thousands. So you have quite a knowledge pool to pull from, and most of the stuff you have seen before, um,
Yeah.
more than once, and so you know what works best. And the parents, hey, listen, these kids don't have manuals.
No.
And look, I had three of them. There was no manual there,
No book, no handbook, no
no
playbook.
handbook, and all three of them are different. All
Yeah.
three of them are different. So how does that happen? Okay, so you have to be able to deal with that, and someone who has a wealth of experience, a wealth of knowledge, is definitely more adept to do that. So
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for that. Thank you for, I feel so seen. Thank you.
yeah, so let me ask you, when you're doing let's say you have someone that came in and they really want to be helped, and they have that addictive personality.
Mhm.
Okay. Are you seeing it more now? Is it with um, alcohol, drugs, um, screens,
Gambling. Yeah,
or
all of it. All,
gaming?
all, all of it. All
It's
of it.
a lot of times you see it, they'll have multiple addictions.
Yes, multiple, and it's ease of access. The easier something is to access, and again, that instant dopamine, and it's wrecking relationships. It's wreaking havoc in interpersonal relationships, and causing betrayal, trauma for individuals. Trust. It's a swipe culture. You
Yeah.
know, if you think about a relationship, let's just take any relationship prior to the existence of social media.
Hmm.
You didn't have to worry that your significant other was going to be talking to people on the side.
Yeah.
Maybe the most you had to worry about is if in real life, right? In real life, if somebody was chatting them up at a bar or a restaurant, and what they were they engaging in the behavior? Were they inviting in that attention, or were they setting a boundary? Well, now that's a real life encounter. Now we can do that online all day. And sometimes when people want that ego fed or need attention, they will fall to that, and it does happen. I don't know one single relationship, and I've done couples counseling as well for 29 years,
Yeah.
that hasn't had a rough patch, right? But if in that rough patch, are we going to turn toward one another, or are we going to use the phone and start talking to other people? And it really can be very destructive and hurt people, and there's just too many ways, Phil,
Mhm.
to not behave in ways that support and nurture your relationship.
Well, it's easy too. All you have to do is pick up that phone and swipe. I mean, you don't even have to. The algorithms pick things up. You could be like, I mostly watch fitness and fighting.
Right.
That's what I do. Right? That's my thing. But you know what? The other things come up with people who like fitness and fighting.
Yeah. fitness and my algorithm is animals. I get a lot of animals, all
Yeah,
the
I
different
get that
animals.
too. Yeah, you get them like the lions running after the zebras and stuff. Yeah, I get all that too.
I get a lot of
Fighting
raccoons.
wolves. It's like all kinds of
I
crazy.
love that. I love my algorithm. It's pretty good. I have to say, too. All the animals, I'll take it.
It's funny. You know, it's funny. It's different too because even the what comes up on my feed on Instagram is a little bit different than what comes up on my feed on Facebook.
Okay. Is it?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah, definitely. Like I get, I think it's because of the people who upload fitness stuff
Yeah.
are like scantily clad. Like,
Oh, that may be why.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Influencer type.
And I got a
Okay.
lot of influencer type women that come up on my feed, for like, oh, my search thing, right?
Right.
When search populates when I'm looking for something else. But then, and then, I get my wrestling, my fighting, my, the other fitness stuff too. But there's a ton. I just think there's a lot of the bikini clad
Oh,
fitness influencers on Instagram. A lot more than I get a lot more of that on that than I do on Facebook. Well, Facebook is more kind of what I'm looking for. I get my wrestling, get my martial arts, get the
right.
real fitness people, get the animal stuff, things like that, fishing. I'll get that more on Facebook, whereas the Instagram's a little bit different.
Your Facebook platform really knows you, Phil. Really
Yes, it
knows
does.
you.
It does. It really
Right.
does. It knows what I like to do. It's like,
Right.
yeah. But so now when we're moving forward, we have let's say we have a child and they come in and let's say they're addicted to screen time. Obviously, they're going to be suffering from anxiety and either have depression or are rapidly heading there. What is the first thing that you do, or or are there, or you have to start somewhere, right? So
Right.
how do we
So
start?
I build a rapport. I build a rapport, and I never ask the question. I'm going to tell you, I never ask the question, do you do drugs? Do you smoke weed? Because it's counterintuitive. People who don't use drugs are going to say no, and people who do use drugs are going to say no. So the drugs reveal themselves in time, right? You can't do something all the time on a continuum on a regular basis and not have there be obvious signs of that. So when I'm working with a young person, whether and how they were referred to me,
Mhm.
you know, is neither here nor there, right? Maybe a friend, maybe a parent, maybe some other adult. The first thing I'm going to do is build a rapport, and then they come in. I usually ask them, "What brings you my way?" That's usually a staple question I ask, and then I try to understand their habits. I'm going to rule out the biology. I'm a solution-oriented therapist. I like to maximize people's time, right? Again, we want therapy is an investment, so I want to see my clients move toward results quickly.
Okay,
So I'm going to
results.
right. I'm going to tell them I'm going to do, biological assessment. What does that mean? It's a fancy word for saying I'm going to get to learn your habits, sleep habits, eating habits, food habits, caffeine intakes, recreational drug use. I'll put that out there, and they usually will tell you. They will usually tell you, and a lot of times they won't connect that substance or what they're doing is relating to their problem. A lot of times you hear it's the only thing that helps me sleep. It's the only thing that calms me down. I mean, I have parents trying to get medical cards for 15-year-olds.
Oh,
That's common. That's common. And that
very uncommon.
if I hear one more time, well, if they're going to do drugs, I'd rather it be weed because it's natural, and I'd rather them do it in my house, and it's better than alcohol. I mean, how much time do you have? That's a whole other
Wow.
topic. And really, people are very misinformed on today's marijuana. And
Yes.
it's often said that the more you know a subject or a topic, the if you're an expert at it, you almost become the worst teacher because you expect that everybody has your knowledge base because you do. And when you talk about the thing that you're expert in, you'll leave parts out because you know all this stuff cold, right? And you're not taking into consideration that your audience doesn't know it like you do. And when I speak about drugs, when I speak about different kinds of drugs, different classifications of drugs, I'm very careful to remember that and try to explain it in a way so people understand. And I'm always blown away that what is so common knowledge for me, people will say, I had no idea. I didn't know that. They don't know that what a cart is. And I don't know how you not know. what a card is, right? So, but I have to teach them that because the way marijuana is consumed has considerably changed and shifted.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we're definitely going to do a whole nother one on that.
We
Um,
have to. Yeah.
but let's talk about your new business. You just opened up a studio.
Oh, I didn't open that studio. My friend of mine did. Yeah,
Oh,
smoking hot
okay.
yoga. Love it. So I love the hot classes. I'm a cold person. I'm always cold. So I teach hot Pilates there, and I love Pilates so much. Did you know Joseph Pilates was in a camp, in a prison camp for being a German? Did you know that?
I know a lot about Joseph Pilates.
Yes, he was in the Isle of Man. That's where he began his vision of Pilates and exercises and studying animals, how they stretch. You mentioned that before, how animals stretch. So to create better strength and alignment. So I love that. I would love giving a history. But yeah, that's what keeps me grounded in doing what I do. If I didn't do that, I don't know how good of a therapist I would be. And also, as far as public speaking, I can thank my fitness instructor career for that as well.
Hey,
Yeah.
that makes it easy for you because you're used to speaking in front of people all the time.
All the time. Yeah, and you're used to doing it with a mic on your head, with music
Mhm.
and keeping count and yelling and running around the room. When I'm public speaking and all I have to do is stand there, I'm good.
No, that's easy.
Right. Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, yeah.
Easy.
That's great. That's great. Well, cool. Hey, listen. Where's that? I know this is in down the shore somewhere, right? Your the yoga
Smoking
place.
Hot Yoga is in Brick, New Jersey on Drum Point Road.
Well, and you teach on the weekends or evenings?
I teach on Sunday mornings, hot Pilates there, and I also teach at Tom's River Fitness. That's a gym on Route 37 in Tom's River. I've been there, God, for many years on and off. We always say Tom's River Fitness is like the mafia. You never really leave, you never really get out. So, right?
Yeah.
But I love it. I love it. I love what I do. I love the musicality of it. I love infusing all of that, and it's a nice balance to wellness. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's excellent. Wow. Great stuff. You know what? If there's any links or anything, just send them to me and I'll send them. I'll put them in the description of our podcast today.
I will. I have my website and I have my social media platforms. My website is just my name, LoriAnnRoland.com, LORIANNROLAND. And then from there, you can find my socials and I'll send them to you as well.
Perfect. That'd be great. Well, thank you for coming on. I know we're gonna do a follow up on this one
We
because
will.
yeah, oh my God, this you got so much to discuss. There's a lot of things that we can do to help people, and by being in their corner, that's what we do here at Master Phil in your corner. So, thank you everyone for listening, and of course, thank you to our fantastic guests. Strength and honor.